In this video, we're going to be looking at the Wrightwood, California real estate market. We're going to see where the market has been, and we're going to see exactly where home prices are going in the near future in Wrightwood. My name is Dave Rupp, also known as Dr. Hot Rod the Realtor. All my contact information is in the description below. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any real estate related questions. I'm a real estate agent at Exp Realty. Okay, let's get this party started. We're going to be looking at the interest rates currently, how long it takes to sell a house, the average sale price of the house, what the sale price was compared to the original asking price, how many days it takes to sell the house, and some other real estate statistics. So let's get into it. Okay, let's start off with the average sale price. $456,690 was the average sale price at the end of August. Well, that's down a whopping $73,000 in just 2 months and a massive $117,000 and some change since the high in June of 2022. Okay, so next up, let's look at the days to sell. 63 for the month of August. That's not a bad number. It's up from 30 about a year ago when the market was at the peak in June, but not as bad as 113, which was how long it was taking back in 2019 prior to the pandemic. All right, so how about the number of homes for sale? 43. Not a bad number. Not as low as it has been. It's inching its way up, but still not as high as 2019. We had numbers of around 120 or so. And definitely not as low as early 2020 when we had only 27 homes for sale. And keep in mind, during the winter, we do see lower numbers in Wrightwood. Okay, next up, new listings compared to how many houses sold. We had 16 houses come on the market, and we only had 10 sell. So that means there's 6 more houses at the end of the month for sale than there was when we started the month. Or another way to say it, inventory is increasing. This will make the time to sell increase as well because buyers have more time, they have more choices, so they don't usually have as much of a feeling of being pressured to make a quick decision. And the price per square foot dropped a pretty significant number, $77 a square foot. That's in just 2 months, it dropped 30%. That's pretty significant. Our absorption rate or month supply inventory is at 4 months now. That moves us out of a seller's market and puts us into a neutral market. Our sale price compared to percent of original asking price is 96.1%, which is less than the areas around us. Typically around us, they're at 101%. So they're getting over original ask price, we're getting less. And we're recovering from a massive low number of 82.5%. And that was just this March 2023. Lastly, we have the interest rate. The interest rate is still bouncing around like a rubber ball from somewhere around 7, a little over 7, up to as high as 7.5. Right now we're sitting at 7.29. We're still expecting the Fed to bump the interest rate up 1/4 point before the end of the year. But after that, we expect interest rates to start dropping toward the end of the year into early 2024. Okay, so let's bring this full circle, see what the data, when we put it all together, is telling us we can expect for Wrightwood, California in the near future. In 2019 and 2020, we saw Wrightwood undervalued compared to other markets, similar mountain communities, or even neighborhood markets close to Wrightwood. You could get a lot more bang for your buck in Wrightwood when you bought a house than you could in the neighboring communities of Hesperia, Victorville, or even the other mountain communities that compete with Wrightwood like Arrowhead, Crestline, Running Springs, even Idlewild. Since the pandemic, prices have shot up drastically, and now we're seeing a change in the market. The prices have had double-digit increases for a couple of years, but buyers are no longer willing to pay these high prices for houses. We're starting to see, like we said, 82.5% of asking price. That's insanely low. That's unheard of in the last 5 years. We said values dropped down $117,000 in a year for average sale price of the house in Wrightwood. So these numbers are, and this data is indicating people aren't willing to pay these escalated prices anymore. So looking forward, we're going to see Wrightwood house prices continue to settle down, not as drastically as they have in the last year or this season, but they're going to continue to settle down as people start to understand that they just can't throw these high numbers out there and still just get these crazy prices. We're seeing inventory in Wrightwood increase. We're seeing the days on market increase, so that's the time that it takes to sell a house. So all these things are good for a buyer. So definitely don't get me wrong here. While prices are starting to settle down in Wrightwood, it's a neutral market. It doesn't mean that it's great for buyers now. It's not. It's neutral. It's still good for sellers, still good for a buyer. It's more of a fair exchange. You don't have so much pressure as a buyer to run out there and buy something at an overinflated price. So going forward, you're going to see sellers have to be a little bit more aggressive with their pricing initially. Sellers are going to have to be a little bit more patient about how much time they wait to sell. Real estate agents are going to have to work harder. You're going to see more rental properties available as some sellers don't sell their houses and choose to rent them. We'll also see more bargains in the marketplace. In the last couple of years, bargains were like almost impossible to find. But as it becomes a little tougher to sell, then it's a little easier to find a bargain.